Welcome, everyone. We will get started in just a moment. If you're joining us just now, you are all muted. We'll just have the folks from AFP and myself off mute, but feel free to type into the chat box. Let us know your title. And we'll be using the chat box quite a bit. So make sure you're comfortable with it and where it is. And you are welcome to stay on camera or not. It is up to you. All right, I have noon at the start, so let's go ahead since we are recording. And Tyler, do you want to kick us off? And I will stop sharing so that we can see the speaker.
Sure. Thanks, Lori. Hi, everyone. For those of you who I don't know already, my name is Tyler Timko. I'm with Eden Plus Fundraising here in Des Moines, and also the president of the Central Iowa AFP chapter. So thanks for being with us today. It's kind of crazy to think that 2 months ago, a lot of us were together for our normal March meeting, and we had just found out that morning that one of our speakers was going to have to Zoom into that meeting. And little did we know how much we'd be using Zoom and what the next few months would look like. So glad to be with everyone again, even in kind of the virtual format here. And thank you for bearing with us as we kind of got our footing, like I'm sure many of you did as well over the last couple months with AFP. Apologize, had to cancel that April meeting, but there's still a lot of great opportunities out there, and we have a good plan moving forward. So we have this session, obviously, which is approved for CFRE credits. If that's something you're working towards, that'll be on the CFRE website after the session, or maybe starting tomorrow. I think it usually takes a day to get those up there. If you haven't seen, AFP has also lifted the fee from their next couple upcoming webinars. So if you're looking for continuing education credits, that's another opportunity for you. And then we, as part of being a 10-star chapter in Central Iowa, we also have access to another webinar that AFP is going to let us do virtually, remotely, I should say. So we're planning on doing that at some point this summer. So there'll be more information coming out about that. But, so I think there should still be, even though it's virtual and it's not the same as being there in person, there should still be the same amount, if not more, educational opportunities out there for you. So I also want to do a quick shout out and thank you to the Mid-Iowa Plan Giving Council. I know a lot of their members may be on this call as well. We shared this meeting with them, and they were nice enough to share their meeting from a few weeks ago, which was great. So thanks to the Mid-Iowa Plan Giving Council for being a partner there. One other announcement, we are essentially looking at changing venues for our regular luncheon in 2021. So instead of from the church, we'd be somewhere else. I know a lot of nonprofits in the Des Moines area have space that they might be interested in renting out to us on a semi-regular basis there once a month. So typically have 30 to 50 people. If you do have space that you think would accommodate that and you're interested in hosting, we'd like to keep it pretty consistent as far as one place throughout the year. But if you are interested and you have space, please feel free to reach out to me. So looking forward, we are still planning to have our June 8th meeting. The format is still TBD. We'll be ready to do that virtually, and it's looking more and more like we probably will do that virtually than instead of having in-person meeting. We were kind of holding out hope that that might be an option, but realistically, it's probably looking like it's going to be virtual meeting, and you can see the details there on our speaker who will be joining us for that meeting. And then we also have the, we're going to try out a virtual happy hour. So you should have gotten an email last week about this. But basically, there's a Zoom link. We're just going to jump on, and you can share skill or a new tool or something that you've picked up, something you've learned during the pandemic. Doesn't have to be work related at all, fundraising related. It can be a hobby or anything like that that you've picked up during this time. So should just be a good chance to connect and see each other, being that's something that we're all kind of missing right now. So hope you'll have a chance to join for that. So I think that's all the announcements I have. But thank you, Ryan, for that comment. But we will go ahead and toss over to Colleen, and she's going to introduce our speaker that we have with us today.
Great, thanks, Tyler. Well, I'm honored and delighted to introduce Lori. She's one of my top fundraising heroes. And if you haven't participated in one of Lori's sessions before, you're in for a real treat. So I think you got her bio. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. You'll immediately pick up on Lori's positivity, passion, and expertise in what is really the most important part of our work, the storytelling that compels donors to invest in what it takes to carry out our various missions. So I was thinking back to how I found Lori, and I subscribed back to her blog Firestarters back in 2018. And Clara Bergen, I think she's on this Zoom session, she's one of our AFP members, and she attended the AFP National Conference in New Orleans. So she is the one I have to credit for encouraging me to sign up for Lori's webinar.
It's Claire's fault.
What's that?
It's Claire's fault.
It's Clara's fault. Yep, that's right. I like to blame Clara for stuff. So one other plug that I'll make is Lori has a webinar that I've gotten so much mileage out of myself with fellow staff members, also hoping to roll it out to board members, which is what is our money story and how do we tell it? That actually led to collaboration between my colleagues and I in my current position at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Iowa to create a one-page handout with some icons and some text that shares with donors what it takes to create and support a match between a little and a big for 1 year. So that's how I know Lori. That's a little bit about her. Just two quick things about today's session. So it will be interactive. Lori is going to engage us with questions and with polls. So I'm sure all of you don't have any other windows open right now. And if you do, I encourage you to shut them off because this will be a really great session. And then just a couple other quick reminders. We are scheduled through 1:30 to allow for enough time for Q&A. Based on the size of our group, we may, and the number of questions, may be a little earlier, but just wanted to let you know that. Lori's already mentioned this, but in case if there's new folks that have hopped on, your microphones are muted. You can choose whether or not to share your video screen. Please feel free to enjoy your lunch. It is the lunch hour. Enjoy water or whatever you drink this time of day. No judgment. So thanks again for being here, and thank you, Lori, for being with us. And with that, let's hear from you.
Thank you, Colleen. Well, if you aren't a member of the AFP, which I can't imagine why you're not, just a reminder that you can become a member. I am one. I've been one for, I don't know, I was like 3 years old, I think, when I became a member of AFP. It's been a long time. I happen to be going to deliver the June AFP International webinar. It'll be on storytelling and how really to use storytelling now more than ever. I'll also be offering through the AFP International the conference that the workshop that I was going to present at the conference that got turned to virtual, and that is how to create a 21st century case for support. So watch for information on that. You got these reminders from Tyler. So let's dive into, during times of fear and uncertainty, how in the heck do we fundraise? Here we are. I've been doing webinars and Zoom trainings for forever, probably 2012, 2013. And I've been using Zoom for about 3.5, 4 years. So welcome everybody to my party. It feels like everyone's just kind of catching up with me. And I know that your work is important. Even if you're not providing food or shelter and in the front lines, your work is really important. It has never been more important. So whether you are an arts organization, advocacy organization, please remember that Your work is relevant. It's relevant now. It'll be relevant tomorrow. And supporters need to know what you're doing in this time of uncertainty. So one thing I like to do to get started and get you warmed up to the fact that we will be interactive is to have you type into the chat box one word that will describe to me and any potential donors, one word to describe your mission. Please use a word that will inspire me. And normally, if we're in the room together, I don't allow repeat words, but you get to be repeat here just because. And while you're doing that and you can see each other's words, what I'll do is I'll tell you just a tiny bit about my story. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, born and raised here. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona for 5 years back in '97 and came back to family. I have wanted to help people all my life, and I count my blessings every day. That's my work. That's what I get to do, is to help people. And when I was young, I thought I wanted to help the whole state of Minnesota and be governor of Minnesota. And then I worked for the governor of Minnesota and decided I really didn't want that job. I also wanted to be a flight attendant so I could fly and be paid to travel around the country and literally around the world. And so fast forward up until February of this year, I have been traveling all over the place and delivering trainings, coaching, helping people. I love what I get to do, and I appreciate that what I get to do is to shine a spotlight on what you do well. So some of the words I'm seeing here: neighborhoods, educate, health, mental and physical, vulnerable, character, life-saving, mentorship, rehabilitation, security, wildlife, women, leadership, inclusive, empower, inclusion. What I ask you to do often has hidden meanings. So I noticed that some of you gave definitions or gave me the name of your organization. I want your communication to always entice people to want to ask you a question. So know that that's sort of the framework of how I do my work. So let's go ahead and start our poll. I'm going to go ahead and launch the polling. First question is, I know the names and most recent gift amount of our top 100 donors. Yes or no? I'm going to go ahead and type in. Number 2 poll question is, we're personally connecting with our top donors during the pandemic. Yes or no? And then last question, we plan to hold or have already held a virtual fundraising event. Yes, no, or undecided. All right, we'll give it another 10 seconds or so here so everyone can vote. We're nearly at 100% of everybody. You're thinking. All right, I will end the polling so you can go ahead and see the results. And basically we're half and half. Well, maybe a little bit more. Some of you don't know the names of your top 100 donors. Well, let's dive in today and think about how we could or why. Lots of you are connecting personally with your donors. Good. I hope that personal means phone call, text, one-on-one emails. And lots of you are in the, we don't know what we're going to do about our fundraising. And I get that. So let's talk a bit about who's been doing some things today in the past 6 weeks or so. And what does it mean to have a plan B and then a C and a EFG? I think we're probably on like H by now for some of you. The reality is we're going to likely get to Z by the end of the year. There's so much unknown, and that's okay if we're going to be nimble. And I ask you to pause before you panic. Take a pause and really realize that when we're in that panic mode, we're feeling a lot more anxiety and we cannot be flexible. We have to just do it the way it's always been done. If you're pausing and thinking through your responses, you're giving yourselves and your board and your staff a little bit of time to think about the pros and the cons and choose, you know, really which option is going to better serve you right now. So I'll share a planning document that was created in March by one of my clients who had to cancel an event and has now gone on to reschedule it. Basically, we have to accept that there is a lot we don't know. Communicating that through our positive language choices will cause people to feel comfortable. You'll build trust with them, and they know that you're doing your best. There is a lot of forgiveness right now for crazy meetings, you know, like how many Zoom meetings will you be on, or Skype, or GoToMeeting, or Hangout, whatever meetings. There's a lot of forgiveness for them not being as organized or as efficient. I just ask that you take a breath. I've got a bunch of examples. I've got some data to share and some stories to share. So just know you've got this. However it looks, you've got this. Done is better than perfect, right? So what I have for you today is to talk about pivot fundraising, our new, today's normal. The 3 most important actions you want to be taking right now. Talk a little bit about data, powerful language, donor attitudes, some more examples I'll toss in, and then we'll have time for questions. And we'll be weaving through this, how stories are being shared right now. So pivot, it's a change in strategy without a change in vision. It means you're having to deliver workouts from the YMCA on your Facebook page, which I watched many of this morning as I was getting ready. I wish I was actually working out while I was getting prepared for this, but I was just viewing them. You all know what a basketball pivot is, right? It is when, you know, you're dribbling, but you can't take one foot off the floor. And so it likens itself to that change in strategy, but not in vision. You want to make a basket, but you don't take your foot off the floor, which is your mission. So I wrote a whole blog post about pivot fundraising. You can access it later, and we'll share the link later. But the definition that I created is what you're doing every day. You're having conversations, you're taking action, you're moving in different directions as fundraisers with grace and ease, or at least the best grace and ease you can find, to raise money in a previously unimaginable direction. That's what you're doing. Whether you like it or not, whether we chose it or not, it's what is right now. So what are the most important actions we should be taking? There are 3. Overall, what I'll say is focusing on, you know, the fundamentals, are really basic fundamentals, is the only way to succeed in good times and in bad. I have been development director, executive director, board member. I've been the only staff person in 3 different organizations until we grew and raised enough money to grow. What I know is from my mistakes, sometimes I didn't focus on the fundamentals and I was more reactionary. So today I want to just remind you what they are and how to be implementing them in ways that serve you and your mission. And we've got every kind of mission on the call today. So first top action is to communicate. Don't stop communicating. Make sure you're dispelling myths. If you have had to close your office or things have changed at your work, we want to let folks know that. And then listen. How are you listening? And allowing people to communicate back with you. So let's dig into these 3 just a little deeper. Communicate. Hopefully you are. Our job now more than ever is to make the complex a lot more simple. And before you communicate, whatever message it is to the board, to your other staff, to volunteers, to donors, to partners, I ask that you ask yourself, what is it we want people to feel? What is it we want them to do? And what is it, hopefully I'm still there. For some reason, my session seems to have said it's signed out. And by when? So just nod, Colleen, if I'm still on. Okay, good. That was strange. Let's talk about those for just a minute. Everything we do, every decision we make, we have to feel something in order to do it. Our brains are wired to feel. And the way we make a decision is through this story we tell ourselves. Without information, without stories, without knowing what's going on with you, I don't know to give. I don't know to volunteer. So even short updates, and I've asked anybody who's still has a monthly e-newsletter to change it to weekly, shorter and pithy, really relevant information to keep me understanding what's happening and how I could be a part of the solution. Here's your very, very easy to follow donor communication checklist. Thank people for what they've done in the past and what they're doing right now. Check in with them. How are they? Are you serving a lot of folks in a vulnerable population, elders, people having a certain kind of medical illness, especially mental health? Share mission moment stories. I'll define what that is in a moment, and your money story. I'll define that as well. And then give me options for how I can help you and help the community right now. This is a bit of research. I'm just going to go over it quickly, but the drivers of donor communication, what people are wanting to know from you, are the following. They want to know and understand why you are producing some outcomes, even if they're different than they used to be. They want to know and understand what to expect when they hear from you. I do my darndest to stay positive in my emails and my blog posts. If I'm talking about something in a less than positive way, it must be really important to me, and there must be a reason behind it. Timely thank yous cause people to stay connected to you. Making sure that people have their own opportunity to share their views back with you. Almost every single one of you that I went to your website, and that was a lot of you, I went to your Facebook page as well, and I was saddened to see that some of your excellent posts aren't getting comments or shares. So we're going to talk a bit about that. People want to feel as though they're a part of something important. I got to tell you, my daughter-in-law is a nurse anesthetist, and when she comes home, there is music that she listens to. It is art that fills her. If you think you're not relevant right now, think again, folks. Knowing and feeling that their support, their involvement of any kind is appreciated, and they're receiving information on who's being helped. This is your roadmap for how to communicate with your supporters, with your clients, with your staff, with your board. So shelter at home in California was issued on a Monday, a week or two before March 13th. They were ahead of the rest of the country. On Friday the 13th, when sort of the bottom fell out of everybody's world, I was working with a client in Northern California to send this email. And it went out to, 5,000-6,000 people. But it made sure that immediately upon them changing their work, they were communicating with their supporters. It was crafted in about a half an hour. I did some edits, they did some edits, and it was sent out from the CEO. They made sure that their May event was upfront in the communication to let folks know it was postponed. It's now been scheduled for the first week in June, so we're working on that. They made sure to tell their money story. They explained that the difference in what they expect to receive in government funding and the total cost of all their programs leaves a funding gap of $2.95 million. Folks, today, just a few weeks later, their costs to deliver their services, especially because they are serving the homeless, has gone up $900,000, almost $1 million. They made sure that we could give if we wanted to. We make their work special, and they had us feel great. Another organization that I was supposed to attend their event on April 21st sent me a text about 3 weeks before the event. Once they decided that they were moving it, they sent this text out at 8:30 in the morning. Every single person who was attending or hosting a table at the event, and some of their VIP folks, got a text from someone personal. They didn't use a text service. So this was from my contact, the VP of Fundraising. And it was timely and kind, but within about a half an hour, I also received the calendar invitation for that event that rescheduled it on my calendar. So I didn't have to do anything. So it was easy for me to know that I could attend or not, but it was already on my calendar. So if you haven't figured it out by now, I believe that success is about three things. Our communication, what are we saying? Our communication, how are we saying it? And our communication, where and when are we saying it? Timeliness matters. Causing me to feel something matters. The most important thing in an email these days is the subject line. This is from Interfaith Outreach organization here in Minneapolis. They sent this out on March 16th, so the Monday after life changed in the Twin Cities. And the subject line was, "Are you hungry to help?" They do have a food shelf. They explained to us exactly what we could be doing. We could be making a financial contribution. The story behind this is I didn't receive this email. My sister did, and she didn't know this was a client of mine. And she said, you know, in amongst all the school information and all the emails I got an email that they like begged me to open it, and I did. And I made a contribution because I know exactly what it takes to feed a family of 4, because I do that in our house. And so we chose what our giving level was and multiplied that times how many months we wanted to help someone. I was really proud that she took action, but it was because this was well written. Then when we got to their donate page, it told us what our gift would do. It would provide essential services for their most vulnerable neighbors. Every dollar gave them the ability to source $9 of food. And I always start with the largest dollar amount. I recommend this on your giving page, and tell me what the money will be used for based on the story you might have told me in the email. Lutheran Social Service, this VP or development person is just amazing. And she made sure that we felt good when we opened her email. It was really an update on what neighbors of Lutheran Social Service were doing. It was volunteers, it was sewing masks, it was providing support for other organizations and for the folks at Lutheran Social Service. But what I loved was she gave us ways to support our neighbors, to pray, to serve, and to give. Really kind, really helpful. And I'll tell you, it was personal. I contacted Jesse and said that was the most kind, welcoming email I've gotten lately. So when you are posting, when you are sending emails, don't forget to tag or alert your board members, your volunteers, especially on social media. This is from Opportunity on Deck. I think they're registered to be with us live today. They had a lovely fun video with Coach Dillon teaching a few quarterback and wide receiver fundamentals. Nothing I need to learn, but it was fun to watch. But I want your board to be forwarding those, so tag them. I want your volunteers or some of your students to be knowing about this. So make sure that you're tagging folks in order for your visibility to grow. I got to do a webinar like this for the National Park Service and all of their development folks. Can you imagine your work is completely feeling irrelevant because no one can go to your park right now? So pretty quickly, the National Park Service created a pop-up on their website and showed us how we could take a virtual tour by just sharing pictures from some of the other parks all around the country. There were ways to connect with them, including give, but that wasn't the overt message. The overt message was some comfort and some calm. Remember that visual matters, pictures matter. We process pictures in our brains way faster than the words. The second thing that we want to be doing to take action right now is to dispel myths. Your supporters, your community, they have some things they make up about you. Our job is to make sure they're not making up whether or not you are providing service, you need money, because we're telling them the truth. We're sharing the facts. It is our job to be a source of truth and calm. So what does it truly take financially, number of people? Have you had to buy headsets for folks? What have you had to do to deliver your programs and services right now? What's open? What's closed? Are you providing some support, and are you providing ways that I could help others in my community? And then, of course, please reference the CDC or the World Health Organization versus any news outlets for information. You'll notice the picture here of a woman who is providing a class on yoga from the YMCA. I found this to be calming, and I had it on in the background for a bit. I couldn't do yoga while I was doing my slides. But again, I wanted more shares and likes and comments for you. So don't forget to let your insiders know what you're doing on social media. The Grand Canyon Conservancy is doing a stellar job in their emails and in their shares, in their information posts on social media. This was simply a picture with a quote. Every sunrise brings a promise of a new dawn on March 30th. 158 shares, folks. Don't we need a sense of calm right now? So are people giving? Should we be asking for money? We don't want to cause donor fatigue. I'm sorry, but I don't believe in donor fatigue. I believe in uninspiring message fatigue. If you are saying give, 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 please give, that is uninspiring and I will stop giving. So should we be asking for money? Yes, but make sure to use the words you and your. I happen to see some of the emails that I send. They're automatically sent when someone downloads something. And I saw them yesterday after updating these slides, and I realized the language was all about me, all about my organization. It wasn't about you and what you've just done and what you just purchased and downloaded. So know that even I forget sometimes. Make sure you're counting the number of times you're using the words you and your. How are you doing? We hope your family is safe and healthy. And if not, let us know if we can help you connect with any services in the community. Here's what's going on at our office for you right now. And then dispel myths, please. If your supporter community thinks you're fully funded by the government and you're not, tell us. If people think your clients or your members or the folks you serve only need you one time, please tell us about how they're doing and how and why they need you more than once. Maybe we don't need your services right now. Well, explain to us who does and why you're still relevant. If people are making up that your mission is less important right now, it may be that you're thinking that too. Please eliminate that thought from your thinking. There are lots of myths you have that are perpetuated by messages you've sent or stories you've told. So let's put a face on the impact your supporters are making. And please, 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 please tell us what it takes to make that happen. This is a volunteer making sure to stop by to see a senior. I did get to see my mom yesterday, but it was outside. We cannot go into the building at the senior high-rise where she is living. We have to wear masks. We cannot touch. It was a lot of rules, and they have signs up all over the place, but there are lots of us in little pockets. This is a building that shut down, but they told a little story about how they're making sure to have people feel some joy. A story, folks, is a mission moment. And a mission moment, I believe, is a short, inspirational example of how your donor's contribution is making an impact. So what did I make possible? I wanted to know the name of this young man who was highlighted on the Special Olympics Iowa Facebook page. I wanted to know a little bit about his story. That's a mission moment. Was this his first time in the bike race, or was it maybe his second 10th? I don't know. Tell me a little bit about the people that you serve. And if you are a part of an environmental or advocacy or humane society, you have an end user, folks. There is someone whose life is different, no matter if you feel like you serve people or not. Mission moments create unforgettable emotional connections and empathy. Empathy connects us, right? It causes us to really feel like, oh, that's how it must be to be in that situation. I can understand better because you've told me a bit about how that person feels. But sympathy is not the kind of storytelling we want to be doing ever, let alone right now. Sympathy creates distance. We want to be sharing examples of how my gift has helped you do X, Y, and Z right now. And the third thing to be doing right now is to really listen. Absolutely listen to your staff if you've been able to keep them. I was reading a story about organization. It is the Goodwill in another state, but they kept some of their staff on by paying a minimal amount to them and making sure they were still employed through the beginning of April so they could have health insurance for one more month. But telling that story to the community causes the community to understand how you're being your mission. So listen, give people an opportunity to communicate back with you. And then contact them. Do you notice how many of your donors are on your social media? Do you tag your donors who are on social media to like or share or comment on something that you're posting? Viruses might be contagious, but so is fear and panic and hysteria. So choose our words carefully. Let's not choose drama words. So is kindness contagious, and love and joy. So messages that invite feedback, that cause us to be connected and build community, are allowing people to feel less hopeless and feel as though they are part of the solution. This is Jennifer Garner's Instagram page. She had posted a while back, early in this pandemic. This is the time of year that has so many people from preschoolers to professionals working their tails off to perform. And now the games, the meets, the recitals, the productions, big and small, are shut down. Well, the show must go on, people. Break out your oboes, belt out your torch song, run in place. I don't care. Show us what you've been working on and we'll show it to the world. Use hashtag #HeyJenLookAtMe because I want to see. And she created a movement, a page that has been created to show the Hey Jen Look At Me hashtag posts. There are literally thousands. What is your hashtag? What are you asking your community to post about you and your work? I really loved this homepage. Wesley for Life is on this or signed up for this webinar today. What I loved about it was I chose it because it had me feel good. I could see someone helping someone else. Current volunteer opportunities were available to me. I could learn how to help more right now, which one of the ways is to give. But it was encouraging, and it had right away easy to find on their website how to participate, how to give you an opportunity to hear me. The thing is, your website, folks, is like the kitchen in your house. You may think people aren't going back over and over again, but they are. So update it, keep it fresh, at least give me a link to go to find out what you're doing. So we're going to talk about the sexy topic of data for a moment. Data should be your new best friend. We want to know who has been giving in the last 18 months. Those are your current donors. But keep your data clean. If you have the opportunity or have someone, a volunteer who knows Excel, export lists, keep them clean, dedupe. If people have moved or you haven't householded your data, meaning making sure to let me know who are the 2 people or 3 people that live in that household and they only get one mailing, but they get multiple emails, do that. So making sure that you're segmenting your data. You can send the same message to different groups, but have the first or second paragraph be a little different so I feel like you're talking to me personally. So take an inventory of your most valuable, we can't lose these folks, supporters. And if you feel like they aren't necessarily inspired by your work right now, it's okay, but communicate with them what you're doing. Letting folks know that it's okay to not give right now, whether they can or they can't, isn't what you want to be checking on. You want to check that they're okay. So here's some lists of segments you could be making right now. Your longtime loyal supporters, whether those are small amount or, $50,000 donors, people have been giving for a while. Your monthly donors, longtime corporate sponsors. If you have a walkathon, those person-to-person fundraising people, active social media supporters, I want you to know not only who your top 100 donors are by face and by dollar amount of most recent gift, but have they been going to your social media? Tag them if you know they're on social media. People who have pledges scheduled, are you connecting with them to let them know what you're doing? Certainly board members, hopefully you're in contact with them. And new donors, oh my goodness, new donors, connect with them immediately. First-time donors have an abysmal retention rate unless we've given again. Average retention is below 50%, but monthly giving is the highest that there is. It is the fastest growing form of fundraising right now. And if you've got board members who don't know how to help, or you've got volunteers who want to know how can we help, many of the things that we cooked up for the folks out in Sacramento back in March are being shown here. One of them I firmly believe in. Use the phone for what it was intended. Pick up the phone and contact first-time donors. When they get a personal thank you call, especially from someone who's not paid, like a volunteer or a board member, they are 4 times more likely to give a second gift. A thank you call from a board member can increase someone's giving the next time by up to 40%. Folks, making a phone call, even if you're just leaving a voicemail message, which you're likely going to do, is really relevant. It always has been, but phone usage for the purpose it was created is on the rise. So this is an Excel spreadsheet plan that we created for the folks out in Sacramento. And they used it immediately. They put it into existence. I have just simply made the exact version available for you. You can download it. Just know this is a bit.ly link. That means it's case sensitive. FR Planning COVID-19. We'll send the link out afterwards as well. But you can download this and you can put your donor groups in here. What are or the engagement opportunities we have? What is the venue we want to be using? What is our objective? Do we want to be asking for money? Are we just calming fears? Who's going to be helping with it? Timing, priority, and then some of the details around doing it. So just know, again, we'll share that link with you afterwards. The next thing I want to talk about, though, is our language choices. We want to be making language choices that cause you to stand out. I am not a fan of adding drama to what is already a drama-filled crisis around the world. So let's craft messages that are teaching something about what's going on in your neck of the woods, inspiring people about what you're able to even do if you're delivering programs still, or if you're thinking about it, or having a fundraising event in the future. And call to action. Call to action can be as simple as tell us how you are, or it can be give. Give your time, your dollars, your advice. Make sure you're painting a picture of one person. 1,000 or 2 is a statistic. One person is someone I can wrap my brain around supporting or connecting with or feeling empathy about. These are words that we tend to use on a regular basis, and they're about duty and obligation and not inspiration. Donate, attend, help us, give more, give again. I'm sorry, but those are words that cause me to go somewhere else. So if we're choosing inspiring communication, let's talk about things like investing in our community. Seeing your impact right now, or telling you what your impact has been by giving. Let us put a face on your impact, folks. Here's what's happening. And we're looking for long-term partners, especially if right now isn't a good time for you to financially support us. Scarcity communication shows up all over the place, and it's kind of stealth. This is really hard. We have donor fatigue. We can't do that. We don't have enough time, people, volunteers, money, laptops. They won't go for this. They won't show up online. I have to tell you, people are showing up. My mom has been on a webinar. My mom is 83 years old. I have no idea how she figured that out, but she did. And she learned some things about staying healthy at her age. So what words can we choose? What possibility communication can we're learning how to navigate in this new scenario. We want to inspire you by showing you the impact you've caused. And what if we could come out on the other side fully funded so we can start our fiscal year or the new calendar year at the end of the year with our foundation built to do what we are intending to do. So we're looking for the very right people who want to be long-term partners with us. That language has me in there, your supporters. This most important thing to be talking about right now, besides these things and weave me and the you and your languages, to talk about the money. If I don't know what it takes to do your work right now, or what you've had to cut, or what expenses you've cut, or programs you've cut, what revenue you're not receiving, I don't know there is more to do. I simply go somewhere else. And if you're on the top 3 or 5 donor places that I've normally supported, and you're not telling me what's relevant, I'm not supporting you right now, and I could. Some people could, right? So we want to mind the gap between where you are today and where you have to be to fully fund your mission. And that gap is really simple. What's your financial amount that you have to raise this year? The budget amount. And that is usually that fundraising goal. But how much have you raised so far? That's it. If we don't know that, then we don't give more. So share your money story. Here's where we are today. Here's where we're headed. Here's what it takes. I love that Colleen said this at the beginning. Here's what it takes to deliver our programs, not help us with our goal. Frankly, people don't care about your goal except you. So share what it takes and share clear money stories. Explain how you're helping one person and how my gift is doing that. Show progress to the next milestone. If there's some dollars you must raise by June 30th, because that's your fiscal year, tell us about that. Where are you at? And if that's a big number, it's okay that it's a big number. It doesn't scare us. It gives us certainty that there's more to do. Inform about what it takes, but inspire me with visuals, stories, and gosh, inspire me with your donate buttons. Thank you for continuing to change lives. Give water to 2 people. That's $68. Yes, get information out right now. I did a webinar and board training for the Partnership for Sustainable Food Safety. Really sexy mission, right? Well, it actually is. Right now, keeping ourselves safe at home, how should we be cleaning our food when we come home from the grocery store? We talked about what did they need to do? Their supporters are helping them get information out. So instead of donate, you can use any of these choices or one you make up. You help nature today. I care. Or I'm showing I care. I support my community. Every gift matters. Yes, count on me. Fear makes bad fundraising. It causes us to be extra careful. And then when we draft our copy, our communication by committee, we weaken the impact, we weaken our mission. Being clear and bold is what is necessary now and well into the future. Fundraising is the privilege of facilitating the reallocation of the world's resources, the financial resources, towards that which we love instead of towards something we fear. So we get the opportunity to invite people to stop by for a bit if they are able right now. So are people giving right now? Yes, they absolutely are. There's a gentleman, Mark Phillips in the UK, who's been doing some research since February, and it is qualitative research, meaning they're talking to less people, but for a longer period of time. And they're asking them questions about what they're giving to, why they're giving. They even went deeper and went back to some of those people in March. They'll do that again in April. So what his research is showing that in those beginning weeks around March, middle of March, people are just sort of looking for some way to help, and we're not believing what's going on, and we're a little dazed. They start to want to combat their own helplessness by wanting to be a part of the solution and looking for ways to be a part of the solution. So our communication has to be about helping people understand that things are changing. We don't know what's certain. And yet what we know is we want to be building community with you. And so being authentic, telling the truth about where I could volunteer, even if it's not with you, helping us understand if you could use some help with Excel or whatever the problem is that you have. And remember, conflict is what makes a story relevant for people. We have to know what the conflict is. Then help us understand, like, if you can't go to work and you can't go to work out, what are some ways that we can be of support for people in the community? So making sure to talk about me, your supporters, in a way that causes them to feel like they're a part of you. Here's some examples I've shared that I really love. One is really simple. When you're washing your hands, take 20 seconds to think of 3 things you're grateful for and your logo. You can use this. You can borrow this. It is about making people feel calm and like you're an organization to be trusted. If you're sending out e-news or e-appeals, make sure I am knowing that I can give multiple times. Don't just make them links in the email. Tell me what my money will be used for and other ways to help. And you can share this message over and over again, and you can share it on your social media. This email has about 5 posts worth of social media messaging. For canceled events, talk about, rather than attendance, what your gift will do. I received an email today from someone that was a part of a workshop I delivered in March, on March 31st. It was online, and the email basically said, "Good morning, Lori. I joined the Habitat team in January, 4 months ago. And there's no playbook for what I'm learning." So she gave me a couple of links, and I wanted to show you this organization isn't doing a virtual event in the way you might think. What they're doing is they've asked the chairs of their committee to talk to their supporters. I won't show you the whole video, but I want you to see just a little bit of it. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds long. I recommended videos be less than 2 minutes to have people watch them. So the sound is a little low. I've got my volume up all the way. See if you can't hear a little bit of this.
How many of you woke up this morning and were grateful that you had a pillow, a blanket, and a bed to sleep in? Maybe you reached into your cupboard, grabbed a mug, and poured yourself a cup of coffee. We have people in our community for whom that is not a reality.
So these are the chairs. They asked us something that put us in the story. They were relevant to us by saying, how many of you got up this morning and had a pillow and a whatever it is? They are asking people to give right now and not go to an event, but to become part of their Hammers for Hope fund, both to build homes in the future, but to be available for the families who live in their homes who have lost their jobs. Inspiring calls to action are really important always, but this is a fun one to borrow from. These are real people in the bookmark that we sent out in an appeal at the YWCA. A program participant, a racial justice facilitator, a children's center teacher, and a fitness member. You can be a YWCA superhero. One of the ways was actually to give, but the first way was to actually just respect our mission and uplift every person you meet, promote peace, justice, and freedom and dignity for all. That causes me to feel special, causes me to feel a part of the mission. In Italy, they've had a really horrible situation, right? Well, this organization is in Florence. It is an art academy. It is completely shut down. And they have asked their artists and people around the world to paint what they're seeing from outside their window, a view from the room. And to submit those, they closed the campaign about 2 weeks ago, but they'll submit, people submitted their art, and they will do drawings for people who can come visit the Florence Academy of Art in person when they can have people come back to their country. They've had a huge outpouring of people participating from around the world. And the best example I've seen in a long time of what is your gift support is this infographic from the California Symphony. There are no pictures of faces, but it is relevant for me to understand because I'm in here all over the place. Refreshments for the orchestra during one rehearsal. I didn't know they got refreshments. What a good thing. Rents for a set of timpani for use in orchestra auditions. They go all the way up to $20,000, and they told me about their match of $250,000. This is a way to have a virtual event where you don't have to have a Zoom call and have people spend time with you. But their campaign and yours could be simply stories of some of the folks. It could be one of their members of their orchestra and how grateful they are that you gave at whatever level you gave at. I have a client here in the Twin Cities called the Center for Victims of Torture. On their donate page is simply a story and this quote about how this victim of torture, when she found her way to CBT, she felt safe for the first time. She was able to receive therapy, and then the pandemic hit. And so now she is receiving therapy on the phone or on her iPad when she's available because her therapist is able to deliver their programs and services right now. I'm going to read a little bit of this, and I'd like you to type into the chat box, who is the story about, in my welcome email that I received on April 16th. Lori, thank you again for signing up to be a part of our online community. Did you know you don't have to wait for our online monthly newsletter to get your Grand Canyon fix? Join thousands of individuals on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all with links, who follow Grand Canyon Conservancy for real-time updates and happenings at Grand Canyon National Park. So who is this about? Yeah, it's about me. It's about the person receiving the email. They've been sending out emails at least once a week. I got another one this morning with videos of the Grand Canyon, with a quick quote, with a volunteer speaking to me. This is from an organization, Dental Connections Incorporated, on the call with us. I love that this didn't even have a picture, really. It just had really big font. We have a 6-phase plan to reopen the state. The plan will be a phase plan that we will plan to utilize in phases. The phases will be planned and the planning will be phased. We will move quickly and slowly to open but remain closed. I have created a staff of staffers who will plan the phase and planning while phasing their phases. I love this. And the truth is, folks, this was humorous but serious. They don't know. 17 comments, 42 shares, and 108 engagements. Be disruptive in your innovative communication. We haven't any certainty around what's happening. So have fun, or not fun, but be disruptive. Have us understand what is going on right now. Change agents are people from inside an organization, all of you, who help keep us moving forward when we're stuck. We ask questions. We have a clear vision for where we want to go. They build on the trust we already have. They take risks. They're forward thinkers. They're people choosing new donor engagement strategies. They're people choosing ways to deliver core programs and services. You do not have to do everything I'm showing you. What I would like you to do is pick 1 or 2 things. Got a couple other samples for you. This is an organization founded by a dad and his wife and their son. And Matt and Julie started this organization for Caleb, who is now in his 30s or 40s. He's lived much longer than they anticipated. He's got very severe difficulties. He cannot speak. He doesn't have arms or hands. Matt is writing a blog every week about small moments of being with Caleb, who is not able to go to the places that he normally goes. They've created all of their programming within the span of about 2 weeks. They're teaching artists. This is Matt and Julie here. They are providing their programming in short snippets online. The classes that they teach are for people who cannot hear, who cannot read, and their teaching artists are doing amazing work in pivoting their work so that parents have a way to have their children have an outlet every day. This is Chuck telling the money story at a virtual gathering. They are having monthly, actually weekly, virtual donor meetings. I try and go to as many as I can because they get better and better in how they're executing this. They had a teacher speak on this one. They had the teacher tell us a bit about this child and how this child is doing now. Last week, I had an organization do a virtual event. It was 35 minutes long. The full recording was made available, including the beneficiary telling their story. This is Campbell, who can't dance in 5th grade right now because the school is closed. But the update with the link to watch the full event went out 30 minutes after the event ended. The updates that were going out ahead of the event raised over $30,000, and they raised about $30,000 on the day of, and money is still coming in. So be prepared for constant change. It's okay. We're going to live through this. Assume positive intent if people aren't giving right now, or they're not doing their jobs in the way that we think they should. Communicate clearly, dispel myths. Please listen to yourselves as well as others. And just a reminder, what do we want people to feel? I hope you feel hopeful. What do I want you to do? I want you to do just one thing. Don't take everything and think you have to do all of what I showed you today. And by when? Well, I want you to tell me right now, what did you learn? And what will you do differently? And by when will you do it differently? And I'd like to read a few of those off. The Dental Post, I will do my darndest to make sure that I get the link to you, Blake. And what did you learn, if anything? What did you decide you're going to do and take away from today? And you can type into everyone, or you can just type into me. Not be afraid. Yay, Emily, thank you. You know, it's not easy what we're doing. I don't promise that it will be, but I do promise that there are lots of resources out there. Tell more stories. I want to move from a monthly donor newsletter to weekly communication. Vicki, follow up with me if you want to directly, and I'll share a couple of examples from the folks at Upstream Arts who've been doing that now for a while. Tag your people. Social media is about being social. Get them social. During a board meeting, on Zoom, ask them to go to your Facebook page or your Instagram page and comment or share, or both, one post that you've posted in the last week. Put that on your agenda for the next board meeting. Remove the internal fear of asking. Deborah, what I'll say about that is, if you have a fear of asking, please know that you're focused on the wrong person. You're focusing on you. And really, this is about them. And making sure that we're giving people an opportunity to make choices about their actions right now, and it is okay for them to not give right now. What else? Who else has anything? Use the phone for more thanking. Love it. Drama-free language, yes. Well, and you know, so if you can't get permission, beg for forgiveness. You can invite people to do things one-on-one from your own email rather than having it be a big campaign. So let's, I just want to tell you a few ways to stay connected to me, and then let's open it up for questions. So I do have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, a LinkedIn page. Most of my stuff on Instagram is personal, but if you want to learn about my grandchildren, I'm happy to have you follow me there. I have a most weeks a Firestarters blog, though during this pandemic I've been busier than normal, so it's maybe it's coming every other week. Lots of free resources you can download on my website, a storytelling ebook and a board, how to engage your board in fundraising ebook. But I want to remind you, this is an AFP session. And if you're not a member, I hope you'll become one. There are tons of great resources available to you, for you, all over the place. Both as a member, you get to access the national, the international website with tons of resources. And the webinar this month, last month, and I believe next month is free. And then, as Tyler talked about at the beginning, There are some events you have, a virtual happy hour. These are very fun. Do make sure that on the virtual happy hour, you have a way to decide who's going to speak. That can always be kind of crazy when you're all jumping on at the same time. And so just think about this. It's our choices that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. We are not all superheroes, but we are doing superhero work. So let's open it up for some questions. I will stop sharing, and they can be questions about membership. They can be questions about the presentation. They can be questions about just about anything. Is there risk of making an ask right now and people and companies feeling like it's an insensitive time to be asking for funds? I don't know what everyone's going through, and I know that many are suffering, so I'm nervous. So that's where I would say, Dylan, be very, very honest and say, we hope that you're okay. We hope that you are safe and healthy, and we wanted to let you know what we're doing. And if you have the means to be a part of our donor family right now, we welcome you. Here's some things we're doing with our programs, with the funding we're receiving. And thank you to the 27 or 85 or however many people have given in the last few weeks. So honesty and authenticity has always been important, but even more so right now. That authenticity allows people to stay connected to you, and you make it okay to not give right now. Hopefully that was helpful. What else? What other questions do we have? Maybe we've got questions from Colleen or Tyler as well. What else? What else do we have? Tyler, is there anything else you want to say about the upcoming events or anything that actually what I'd like to know is what is it that you learned, if anything?
Yeah, it looks like we had another question popped up here
I'll
too.
get to it in a minute, but I just
Okay.
want to hear from you. What did you learn, if anything? Because
Yeah,
you're like really bright and smart and fun, and you got this figured out. So
yeah, no, I think the whole thing was great, and I think really focusing on again, not being afraid to get out there. That was kind of what my question was going to be. Is I think a lot of people on this call are 100% behind you and want to do that. And kind of getting back to Dylan's question, maybe it's not the fundraisers on this call that are tentative about asking and asking people to be involved, but what do you say to board members and leadership who say, look, stock market's down, unemployment's 20%. We're not a hospital or a food pantry that's kind of directly impacted by this crisis. We shouldn't be out there asking people for money.
well, if you don't want to raise money, then you shouldn't ask. Always the answer and the research that Mark Phillips is finding is people want to give. Their giving is allowing them to feel less helpless. And they're giving to more than one location. They're giving to the Nurses Fund, but they're giving to the Humane Society. I had an organization that is Second Chance Rescue in New York City. They raised over $50,000 in a couple of hours on Giving Tuesday and counting. They've had more people calling them to find out, what do you need? How can we help? And there was some hesitancy on the board. So share what people are telling you. If you're calling your donors and they're saying, oh, thank goodness you're calling, I wondered if everything was okay. Share that with your community, especially with your board members. Some of the other questions we have here, given the volatility in the market, are there new guidelines or best practices with respect to gifts of securities? Any suggestions in planning the planned giving seed? Absolutely. Planned giving must always be a conversation. If there's not an option to give a planned gift as a link on your donate page as well as the regular gift, add it now. Talk about it. Let folks know that this is a time when you know that portfolios are uncertain and people's emotions are uncertain. And so you're here to talk to them about whatever gift they'd like to make or gifts that they intend to make in the future. Again, it's going back to the basics. Pick up the phone, send a text, send an email, know how your donors want to be communicated with. Here's what I can tell you for certain. There will be less money to give at the end of this year than there is right now. The markets are only going to get worse. So asking right now and setting yourselves up for a good few months is really important. And if any organization thinks their mission is not relevant, please dispel that from your thinking. You were created by a founder or an organization, you know, at the larger international level or national level, because there was something missing in your community. So let's make sure you have the resources that you require to fully fund your mission, to fully staff your mission, even in this new environment. How am I? Oh, very nice. Thank you. What am I listening and reading these days? So I'm listening to podcasts and meditation. I have restarted my meditation practice, 30 minutes minimum in the morning, and then I do exercise in the morning. I'll tell you what, I wasn't good at that before. I was working 10, 12, 15 hours a day. I am making sure to be healthy so that when I come to talk to all of you, I feel grounded and I feel okay. And I'm connecting with my grandchildren on Zoom and reading them stories and telling them stories. So that's one thing that's making me happy. Board members are sharing most resistance. You know, so ask them what they're most afraid of and have that be a conversation that you have on conference call or on Google Hangout or whatever form of meeting you're having. Have them watch this session. It'll be available for replay. I do board sessions. I did one 2 weeks ago for the Partnership for Food Safety. Their board turned their thinking into possibility thinking from we aren't relevant right now. They were really relevant and they realized how relevant, and they also realized for them specifically what the board members, they hadn't been doing to support messages on social media. They weren't calling donors in the way they could be. So they took some tasks from the staff. Thanking is a really great thing to have board members do, especially if you're getting gifts in right now. Don't worry about calling them yourselves, have board members do that, but set up a system so that whether it's a Google Doc or something, so people can see who's been called and only one person's calling at a time. Any strategies on reaching out to lapsed donors at this time? I'm not recommending focusing on lapsed donors right now. I'm recommending focusing on folks that are in your community who are, unless they're lapsed in the last just 18 months, like they're newly lapsed. Maybe they haven't given this year, but they, you know, Libans, they gave last year at this time. Focus on your inner circle. Focus on people that you know well. That's why I asked you if you know your 100 top donors. Does your board, do you, does your CEO? I always wanted to follow myself at organizations I've worked at. Before the days of databases where you could put, you know, images in there and see the donor's face, I had a 3-ring binder in the office, and I would ask our board to show up early and just grab pages out of the 3-ring binder to learn who some of our donors were, so that they could then say hello to them if they saw them out at church or at the grocery store. And then I implemented something called a scavenger hunt. It was whenever we had an event of any kind, those were in-person events, right? I would assign all of my board members with 3 donors to go find and go thank, and they all had 3 different ones. Well, you can do that virtually right now. Please go see how Sarah's doing. Please go see how Harriet's doing and report back to me so we can put that in the database. Anything else, folks? You've been great. I love that your virtual events, we're using your checklist for the upcoming virtual event. So here's what I'm seeing. Having a person who is your behind the scenes stage manager is critical. It cannot be development staff. It has to be the IT people who don't get flustered by the IT and even having a couple of them, and practice, practice, practice. The folks who did the event last week, I literally made them, I begged them, and I made them have a virtual gathering of their table hosts and or their registered guests every single day prior to their event for 2 weeks. And they said that saved them because they had a problem on every single one of those sessions, and they didn't have any issues on the day of their event. So, and then the other thing I made them do is to have like a plan A, B, C, and D. What if technology goes down? Have a dial-in number. What if your CEO is the only person who technology goes down? Who's going to deliver the visionary leader speech? What if the ask person? So they had contingency upon contingency and different email follow-ups ready. So there were versions of things depending on. And then they had their email ready. I made them send it to me a day before. What's it going to look like? Make sure it looked great, had all the links ready to go. The only thing that they had to add in then was the link to the replay of the event. So it was done. They slept easy. They had, don't plan on everyone showing up. They had 360 people show up, 360 registered, 165 were on live. That is normal. Not everyone shows up to an event live. Over half of the people that were on gave, and some of them said, I will give by mail. So then they had follow-up calls and emails going out to everyone to thank them. Okay, I think that's all my knowledge for today, folks. Let's go back and share screen here one last time. Anything else that you want to share, Colleen or Tyler?
No, I don't think so. Just want to say thank you, Lori, for joining us this afternoon. It is really great information, and just want to say, again, thank you to everyone who joined us today. Thank you especially to our members, and it's your membership and participation and all of that we're able to provide these resources. And one final plug, if you're not a member and you enjoyed today, I would certainly encourage you to check out whether it's Central Iowa or wherever you may be, to look into AFP membership, and we will follow up with the recording and links and all that good information that you got today. We'll send an email out to everybody.
Terrific.
In the next couple days.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, everyone. Really, you've been awesome. And just do what you can, and done is better than perfect.
Love it.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thanks, Lori.